There's a few more other things too to look at, like when I'm trimming a foot. When I was talking about landmarks, I'll also look where the frog is pointing, especially if I'm toe clipping. I'll look where that frog's pointing, because if it has more arc to one side of that, I know whenever I clip it, my shoe has to have that to match as well. When you have more time to look at it, that you can get into more detail with 10 seconds, you may not have as much time. So like, you know, a quick measurement, then an overall, and then you're good to go there. So I think the way that outside comes out and around, I'm probably gonna need about 3/16 of an inch offset. I'll usually look at overall shape. I'll take a measurement. I'll usually take a width measurement. This one is about 5 3/4, just a little bit over. So around 5 7/8. And then I'll take a length, and that is about 6 1/4. And then I'll take a heel measurement. So those are my 3 most important measurements. And that's 2 3/4. Those are my 2 most important measurements. If I can hit those, I know I'm in the ballpark as far as within, you know, your parameters. The next thing is, where are your bends in the foot? So your toe bend. Where is the bend and what kind of bend? So if it's a hind foot like this, obviously a little tighter in the toe, right? So I know that my toe bend is going to be a hind toe bend. Then I look from where my toe and my heel ends, where is my quarter bend? So is the quarter bend high according to the widest part of the foot? Or is it right at the widest part of the foot? Or is it below the widest part of the foot? So I know whenever I'm building my shoe, I can put that bend in the proper place according to, you know, those landmarks. So your landmark would be the widest part of the foot. Is that bend right on it? Is it below it or above it? Those are the things I'm looking at. Looked at a trimmed foot, and then I go to start building that. And I think, you know, as far as this goes, it's kind of a big foot for that size of heel. But yeah, I think you guys get, what, like 10 seconds to look at it. Whenever I'm doing an eagle eye in a competition, I will practice that way at home. So 10 seconds, that's how I would do it. I would measure it, and just like if I'm gonna go, you practice like you play, in other words. You know, if I'm gonna compete that way at home, I'm gonna practice that way. And I usually carry a book of data. So over the years, when I'm making shoes and practicing, I kind of know more or less as far as sizes go. So today I'm gonna build just a 3/4 fullard shoe. So I'll look back on my measurements for 3/4 fullard. And this is probably a 3/8 by 1 foot. So I think I will need 3/8 by 1, about 13 1/2. I think 13 1/2 will give me just what I need. So I can look back at my data and I see I've got a shoe here that I made that's 13 1/2, and it's 6 by 6 1/4. So that's pretty much, I know that that's going to put me in the ballpark to cover that foot. So I didn't always used to do this, but man, it's helped over the years. And you could come up with a measuring system. I've also done that as well. I'm more familiar because of the horses I shoe with 3/8 by 3/4. So I have a pretty good measuring system for that. 3/8 by 1, I'm not always shoeing that size of horse, so it can be hit or miss as far as you know, comfort level. So for me, I took data down, made shoes over time. And I think forging also, your forging may evolve over time, so your measurement might change a little bit. So keeping that data kind of helps you know, if it one way or the other. So about 13 1/2 will get me done on that. This shoe's gonna be a right hind. So I know whenever I mark it, I'll mark it that way. So I think the way that outside comes out and around, I'm probably gonna need about 3/16 to 1/4 of an inch, depending on how much I wanna neck up that inside. So I think I'll probably just go 3/16 of an inch offset. 3/16. You know, if a foot's real broad and round, you know, you kind of get these ideas of what that needs to be in the toe bend and things like that. So I think just having lots of goes and practicing quite a bit, and then shoeing lots of horses, you know, that's the best practice a guy could have, is shoeing tons of horses. From day to day, you learn. You know, like talking to Paul last night was interesting because Paul doesn't compete that much, but he shoes a lot. And so like, I compete a lot and I shoe horses. He probably shoes way more than I do, but when we're talking, we can relate, because it's like, shoeing is shoeing. It doesn't really matter, you know, shoeing horses is shoeing horses. Is how I'll go about making the shoe. I'm just going to try to make a real nice horseshoe, so I'm just going to take a light bump. And I was taught when I'm bumping to go light and fast at the beginning. As you lose heat, you can hit a little bit harder. And I'll turn my toe now that I have a little bit of heat. I'll do a little bend on one side, turn it over and do a little bend on the other to help even out my toe bend. Then as I'm bending, I'll have a look and make sure things are going in the correct place, so I can adjust and put bend where it needs to be. Instead of, you know, I found in the past, if I just stay holding one side and bending and not looking, I could have my toe bend off way bad to one side or the other. So I constantly, as I'm getting closer, I want to keep looking and making sure that my bend is going exactly where I want it, according to my toe, my mark, that center mark that I put. If you notice, I keep going back and forth, right? I don't want that thing going off one way or the other, because now at this point, when I don't have any heat, if my bend is way off over here, that's going to be another heat to fix that. Something Jim Poor always taught me was metal moves to the hammer, which metal expands to the hammer more than the anvil. 1, 2, a little bit at a time. So if you notice, like I said, I bent a little bit here, looked, go back a little bit at a time. 1, foundation work. Metal moves to the hammer a little bit at a time. The thing with a little bit at a time when you're forging on a section, when you forge a little bit on one side, turn, forge a little bit on the other, you can be precise. It moves metal real precise. It makes it like real controlled. It's not blowing out like something artistic. If you're forging something and you want dramatic, like you're making a gargoyle or something, you want things to blow out. It's real artistic. But when we're working on a horse's foot, we're dealing with anatomy, so you want to be precise. So if you forge something out and it expands and blows out, you get it back together under control. So that's something I'm going to probably keep talking about all weekend, because I feel like being redundant will help, something that you can leave here with. You know, it's something you don't forget because you've heard it like 10 times over a weekend. You're like, oh, okay, that Chris brought that home. He made sure that he wanted you to understand that. Because for me, that's something I felt like was very, very important. So we bend it and we'll flatten it. Now when I'm going hot and heavy, I'll do this all in one heat. Because I'm talking, I'm gonna go slow. So just so you know. So I flatten one side. I'll come in here, flatten the other side. Overlapping blows, nice and flat. And when you bend your steel, right, when you take a piece of steel and you turn it, that outside's gonna get thin and your inside's gonna get thick. So I know that, turning it, and we're building it for a horse's foot again, I want the outside thick and my inside thin. Why? Because wear is on your outside of your section, and you don't want any sole pressure on the inside of your section. So I'll forge according to that. And I'll come here. Remember, Metal expands to the hammer more than the anvil. So what am I doing right there? I'm thickening up that toe. So what did I do there? I flattened that out, then I came through, and I worked my section one way, a little bit at a time. Come and work the section the other way. So I'm working that section two different ways, right? Does everybody know what a section is? A section, when I say section, section means 3/8 3/4, that's a section. 1/2 by 1, that's a section. 3/8 by 1. So I'm just breaking that down in case anyone has any. You can use a caliper. I'll just mark across the toe here. And I mark my fuller in. And I mark my fuller in, again, for a horse's foot. I want to start from outside the center of my section, so when I fuller, I can come to the center. Make that shoe nailable. Come into the anatomy correct, right? So we can nail up. A horse's foot has pitch, so I'm gonna build my shoe with that intention of pitch. I want my nails to come in the wall at that angle. Okay, hemming. What is hemming? Hemming is preparing the steel for the next step. What's the next step? In this case, we're fullering. So we're preparing that steel for what's coming next. Again, a little bit at a time. We're gonna prepare that steel, get it ready. So I start at the beginning of my fullering, and I set it up to go on the anvil. So as you can see, I've got that set up. I'm starting my section. And I come through and I hem. Now you guys are gonna have Shane Carter come judge. Shane Carter hems real heavy because he fullers real deep. So again, I start my fullering and I come through and I hem. When I hem, I'm hemming the whole section. I don't hem just the top third. I'm forging that whole 3/8. I'm forging it, setting it up. I'm putting angle on that.
Everything's staying square. It's not, you're not leaning it one way. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. With my tongs, everything is square. Maybe, if anything, slightly in, just a little, because I believe that some of your blowout will be to the inside of the section, so you may need to hem that as well by just slightly coming in. So whenever I'm forging. Okay, now on to making the heel. When I forge my heel, just any type of round heel, I'm gonna take that corner and drive it into the section. And I'm gonna rotate down. So I start it up here and I rotate to the center of the section. Come to my outside, same thing. Pack that corner in. I'm driving into my tongs. If you look here, look how they're coming into the tongs there. And I go past the section. So now I've forged on edge, right? A little bit at a time. Here we go. Now I'm gonna flatten. Then I'm gonna come back and forge on edge. And forge a little bit of a check there. Forge my outside of my heel. And then a little bit at a time. Remember, the goal is to forge a little this way, flatten, forge a little. I'm forging that section both directions. I feel like if I just continue to forge one side and then I go forge the other, sometimes I'll get a cold shut I can't get rid of. Well, I'm not taking care of that steel, you know. I'm not working on being precise. It's overdone one way or the other. You want to be precise? Jim Poor said it, a little bit at a time. Okay, so now I've got it hemmed and I've got a generic round heel. I prefer that. When I go fit, I'll end up, rasping it according to the foot I've got. If it's round and maybe my measurement's not perfect, I'll still cover the heel. If I put a harsh check, my measurement's not right, I may end up missing a heel. So through trials and tribulations, I've found that that's the best way to go to the foot with something, fitting something. Okay, go to my widest part. I might be just a little bit lower than that. I can always kind of creep up and add a little more to that bend, then follow around. Might be just a hair low. The beauty about hemming is you can shape while you hem. So you kind of work that horn and get things exactly where you want. And I just kind of flatten this up a little. I found out that if something I was taught, if you come in and kind of take some of that sole pressure, I'm not really forging hard, just getting some of that. It kind of makes where when it touches the anvil, the inside's not touching. When I go to fuller, it kind of suctions to the anvil. If that inside is taller than your outside and you go to fuller, it spins. It wants to, I'm trying to mark precise, I'm taking little bites at a time. The thing about taking little bites at a time is if you need to redirect, it's not a real big change. All right, here we go. When I drop that fuller in there, I want to go 2/3 depth is my goal. 2/3 depth. Right now, if you notice, I haven't flattened it, and I've kind of left that outside thick. So whenever I come in at the very end and I press it out, I can press the whole section. Yeah, and it still has a little bit of hemming, but I think I've blown out pretty good to where it wants to end up. Yeah, I don't mind that being just slightly hemmed at the finish. When I flatten, it's gonna blow right back out to where you want it to end up. There we go. Okay. So at this point, now that it's cold, I'll go ahead and flatten it out and press everything out real nice. This kind of leads into how you'll finish off a shoe when you go to rasp it. You're pressing everything out real nice, and Grant Moon calls it coining the shoe. Oh, I think I would probably write just like that, then clip it and press it out again. So we're just gonna do everything we talked about. So every time I'm running over this horn, I'm kind of reshaping it, kind of like dialing it in, getting that shape a little bit better, a little bit better. When I pritchel, a pritchel is a cutting tool. So I want it to go in and come out clean. So I'm trying to avoid, it's a bad habit and I've got a habit of doing it. If I go in, I want to come out right there. Right here, if I hit it, I'm gonna mushroom up what should be a cutting edge. You want it to cut the slug. So if I stay in my hardy hole and come out, it keeps that sharp and clean, ideally. Like I said, I got a bad habit. Sometimes I come off to the side. But that may help with the longevity of your pritchel. Get my measurements, see where I'm at. I'm about 1/8 wide in my width. And I'm about 1/2 inch wide in my heels. So I know that my width is real close. I just need to kick those heels in. And then I can go to the foot and I know I'm gonna be in the hunt, right? Or if not, dead on. The more you do that at home and in practice, it becomes more of a normal thing, you know? Clipping, hang over about 5/16 of an inch. And I'm aiming the round side of that ball peen to the corner of the anvil. This round on corner is gonna draw fast. So I feel like that's an efficient way to forge out that source hole. Before I draw that clip, I come in and I just clean up those corners, because when I pull that source, those corners drag down. So before I continue to drag more down, I'm gonna forge up those corners and keep them strong. Then I'll go over here and draw out a clip. Staying at the base, kind of working to the top. Staying at the base of my clip, and I'm focused on the center of that source hole. I'm trying to make my hammer land right in the center and draw straight away from there. You can do it this way too, same thing if you're drawing like that too, whatever you prefer. Okay, after I get my clip, I'm gonna look at that toe shape and make sure it's what we want. I think I need to be just a hair tighter right here. So I bring that in. Double check my width. I'm a little bit wide. Pretty damn close there. I can go ahead and bring these heels in. When I'm making a shoe for live shoeing, you know, right now I go to the foot, bite the bullet. I'm not gonna try and create this perfect image of in my head, heat after heat after heat, and then go look at the foot, it don't fit. It's like, just bite the bullet, go fit, start fitting right away. Start the fitting process immediately. I set my clip, I'm aiming kind of half, my hammer's on half, right in the middle. I got half on the shoe and half on the clip. I'm going right through that toe. When I set it, it wants to set flat. I'll also take the corners of that clip and just kind of create that arc of the toe in them. So when it burns in flush on the sides as well. I don't think people practice setting the clips, because whenever there's a live shoeing, you go around feeling clip fit and it doesn't a lot of times it don't fit appropriate, and I think that's from not practicing setting them and at home burning them in. And you want to know what gives toe clipping a bad name? Bad clip fit. That'll make a toe clip job look horrible. So when people are like, I can't toe clip around my area, well, maybe it's because of the presentation to the client. If it doesn't look good, if it don't look right, it probably isn't right. But if you get good at fitting them and it looks appropriate, the job looks good when it's done. If it looks right, it probably is right, you know? So I think that's one thing to present your job, you know, have that clip fit be good and in the wall appropriate. And we take it to the foot. This don't have a clip notch in it, but I kind of put it like if there was. I'm pretty close. I think my inside's right on. Maybe just a hair short. In measurement, it's hard to tell with where you want to put that clip. It's pretty damn close though. And maybe just out and around on that outside. So my outside quarter could be just a little bit higher. Yeah, so I'm gonna fix that. My quarter's a little bit low. I'm gonna show you how, if I were to go burn it on, and I'm gonna come back and refit it, what I would do. Okay, so I know my quarter's a little low on my shoe. I gotta bring that up, and I'm a little bit tight right there, so I need to come out a little wider. So out and around. So, right here, I start on my horn, and I'm behind the horn. So what's that doing? That's bringing it out. So I'm behind the horn, out to where I want that quarter. Then I come up and around. So I went out and around, open that quarter, bring my quarter up, bring that bend up, and then finish it off.
Are you going to have to straighten it behind the quarter now that you...
I did a little. If you noticed when I finished it off on the horn, that's what I did. Right here.
Oh, I just keep kind of falling off.
See that? Stayed behind it, kind of straightened it out. And that you can fix with just bringing it in or bringing it out. But I think the more important thing is getting that quarter. You can even come in here, give it a little one of those. So if you notice, I brought that quarter up to here. It was down here. Now we're up in here. I'll run that fuller again. Just clean it up real nice. Like I said, I realize in a eagle eye situation that needs to fit right off the bat. But you're going head to head with somebody else, so hopefully you're a little closer than they are. I just go back through all the process, get everything nice, crisp, and clean. I think my inside was decent, but I'm gonna clean that up as well, just to give it a little bit more stretch. Clean up heats, you'll see. It's gonna clean that shoe up nicely. Same thing as the outside. I left room back here to forward. So if you want to get a little bit of length out of it, you can run that forward back there. Alright, at this point I think I should be pretty damn close to it up. This one. I didn't even measure those heels, but I think I just need to click this one in. My tape should, I should have checked that. Yeah, just a little bit. Alright.
You just back or something? Yeah, if you want this shut down, you want to roll it.
You can bring the air back, yeah.
It should be real close here. Looked like I was right in there. Yeah, that'll do it. bad right there. So you guys can have a look at that. See what you think, but I think it's set up pretty decent.